Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to all those watching from the UAE or other points east of Washington, D.C. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you and your loved ones are healthy and safe. My name is Randy Bell, and I'm the director of the Global Energy Center at the Atlantic Council. Thank you all for joining us today for EnergySource Innovation Stream, where we highlight new energy technologies with the potential to reshape the global energy system. Today, we will be hearing from Abdul Nasser Al Mughairbi, Senior Vice President for Digital at ADNOC. Abdul Nasser will give a virtual tour of ADNOC's Panorama Digital Command Center and discuss how emerging digital technologies can drive sustainability in the oil sector. I've been to the Panorama Suite in ADNOC's headquarters 3 times now, and it is so cool. This is going to be the next best thing to being there in person. But before we get started, 2 administrative details. First, you can follow us on Twitter at AC Global Energy and use the hashtag InnovationStream. Second, after Abdul Nasser's presentation, you can submit questions through the Q&A function on Zoom, and I'll try to get to many of those questions as I can. If you're watching on another platform like YouTube, unfortunately, we cannot take your questions. So please let me welcome Abdul Nasser Al Mughairbi to the Atlantic Council. Abdul Nasser, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. How you doing? How's everybody? Good evening and good morning to all of you.
We're all doing fine here, still on lockdown in DC. You know, the last time I saw you in person was on a panel we were speaking on at ADIPEC. So that was a while ago, and I'm looking forward to getting back to Abu Dhabi whenever I can. How are you doing in these unprecedented times? How has the pandemic impacted ADNOC's operations?
Well, it hasn't really impacted our operations. We continuously are on stream producing oil very reliably. What it has impacted is all the head offices are not working, and we're using a lot of our digital technology and our ability to really monitor and work with the remote sites. Our sites are also are locked down. There is restricted movement on the site. People, when they go in, they get tested before they go in, and before they leave, they get tested, so they are safe when they reach their families. We changed the rotation system, so rather than the normal, we gave them a different rotation system depending on the criticality. And we use digital and our simulation softwares and our platform to really assess the critical nodes in our operation. And those are where we focus the most. Also, we did a lot of COVID simulation to see the impact of our control measures. And we are testing every day. We test a huge, the UAE has one of the largest per capita tests in the world. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is within our facilities. ADNOC is 50,000 employees, plus we have another 40,000 contractors that work around us. And we have been testing all of them in reality. And we focused on our contractors because they're the weak points, and we help them out by doing a lot of testing and supporting them in this case, and helping them in the isolation as well.
Right, that's fantastic. Did the Panorama Command Center help make the transition to working remotely easier?
Oh yes, it helped because currently, before when you used to try to get data, there's a lot of meetings and you have to go to the sites. Actually, it speeded up or accelerated the utilization of our platform, because now people can use our platform without having to really go to the site. We also included a lot of extra things like connected workers and remote advisory. We immediately launched it. And during the startup of one of our refineries, which happened right in April, in the middle of the COVID, we needed some expertise in starting up the RFCC, and we linked them with the United Houston live virtually, and that happened without having to travel anybody from Houston to the UAE. So now it's going to become the norm, I guess.
Yeah,
let's travel.
That's remarkable. Well, why don't we get started? If you could share your screen, we'll get into the presentation, and then remember, everybody online, if you want to ask a question, please do so through the chat, and we will get to those questions after Abdul Nasser's presentation. So, Abdul Nasser, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. My presentation is actually one screen, but I will go through that screen. This is the panorama screen. The panorama control center or digital command center, in reality, it's one floor in ADNOC HQ. The floor has, you can look it up on ADNOC website and on ADNOC Twitter feed and LinkedIn. We have pictures of it. It's one floor and it has a 50-meter screen. This 50-meter screen is split into different parts, and you can go through the whole ADNOC on that screen. So as you see in your screen, ADNOC in reality is 14 operating companies that goes from the upstream, where I can, if you can see my mouse, ADNOC onshore and ADNOC offshore. And then you have from there, the gas and the oil goes to gas processing, the refinery, the fertilizer. We also have another source of ADNOC sour gas, which is about 27% H2S. And when you click on it, you go straight into the site, and there you get all the data from it. So what we did in ADNOC in general, what we did, we went ahead and we brought all the sites back to ADNOC. So this is what we have been doing. We brought 57 sites, 14 companies, and we brought the data into one location in ADNOC. That took us about 7 months of work and construction, but we were able to bring about 200,000 data points live streaming, starting with the production data mainly, and the flaring data, the energy data, sustainability data. We tried to bring all of these into one location. Digital transformation is not only about data, it's also about changing the way we work. It's about changing the culture. It's trusting technology. When we built this, we built it actually with multiple contractors. The display is from Aviva. We're using Wonderware, which is a DCS platform. For people who are not familiar with DCS, DCS is the distributed control system that runs most gas processing, oil production facilities, petrochemicals. And there is multiple suppliers of DCS in the world. It was Aviva that won the contract. Why we use DCS? Because DCS has the ability to handle real-time data in a huge data lake and bring it into the location. Now, what ADNOC did is we built on our strength. We already have 57 sites that are highly automated. What we did is we took what's automated in the site and linked it to Abu Dhabi, to the HQ, through all the operating company. Bringing the data is very critical because digital transformation, as it's based on data, the data has to be clean, the data has to be able to be ingested, the data has to be accurate, and the data pipeline has to be robust and healthy. Only then you can actually scale up certain activities and certain pilots that we did, similar like the predictive maintenance platform, which now has about 250 compressors on it. We also did this with Aviva, but we also did it with Honeywell. So we have multiple contractors, vendors working with us on this. We did not stick to one vendor. We took the best out of all, and it was very much a competitive bid process, but they were equally qualified. The way we did the predictive maintenance and other platforms that we built is you need to bring the data into the head office. You need to bring the data into the site. This out of the sites into the HQs. This speeded up the process of actually building models and testing these models. Working on the sites, there's a lot of restriction in terms of security, access, and you really don't want to bother the operations where you're doing all these technical work. So what we had is, out of this that we have, that we can go through, I would like to just give you a tour. For example, let's go to ADNOC offshore, and I will show you how deep we actually go into this. So, sorry guys, okay. So this is, for example, is Das Island, and it goes and it looks at all the loading, storage, the flare. You go to the Amushi processing plant, you can drill deep, you can go down to the compressor level, down to the element, the instrumentation. So we go very, very deep into our operation, and all this data is utilized mainly to support operations, to support the reporting. So we issue the global mass balance for ADNOC. We issue multiple daily reports for different parts of the organization, to marketing, sales and trading, downstream, upstream, petrochemicals. We link them with the how full are our tanks, managing the tankage, managing the sales, also the shipping. We have the full view of what we do in the shipping. Per ship, we know exactly when the ship is loading, whether it's oil, whether it's gas, whether it's NGL, LNG. We know the exact number and we know exactly when they finish. And we do support our marketing and finance by sending them the documentation right after that. So this is one part of what we're doing. Another important part of Panorama is actually creating what-if scenarios. To create what-if scenarios is very important because as a value chain, this complex has one certain advantage over other value chain is we are all in one location and we are all interconnected. This means that the optimum production scenario can be multiple production scenarios. We can take the gas to the ADNOC gas processing, but we can also control the quality of the gas goes there from the offshore and the onshore by using different wells, which allows us to meet the demand of our customers and to take advantage of higher sale prices of certain products. The same goes to the refinery. We can manage the blend, simulate it, and say which the ultimate blend that we can use. And then that is done by the operating company where they create the blend to the refinery. This is what, in a nutshell, what we're doing. But at the same time, what's really very important is we're using this platform to also monitor our emissions, all our sustainability data. So we monitor our energy, we monitor our flaring, we monitor our KPIs when it comes to sustainability. And this way, we have a comprehensive platform that really evaluates, and we then do what-if scenario. We have put a very strong, ambitious target for us is by 2030, we will reduce our CO2 by 30%. We will reduce our energy footprint and we reduce our carbon footprint. And that can only be done if we start monitoring now. If we cannot measure, we cannot control. And after that, work with the operation to optimize in terms of energy consumption, CO2 footprint. The models we build can optimize on CO2, can optimize on injection, can optimize on sale, can optimize on whatever we want. It's a mix between linear programming, where we use in the LB model, the spiral platform of Aviva, but also we have in-house built models that for smaller plants that we do test in-house. So we have a very strong modeling team that builds this, whether thermodynamically or in linear programming. We also are using AI in certain form, which is mainly looking at the probability of certain things happening and taking the data and using machine learning to really try to find solutions within, like what we're doing in the refinery when we look at scheduling and how we are not meeting the scheduling constraints or how can we get rid of certain constraints. We're using a machine learning model there with different companies that then testing different model in there. So that's one part of it, which is the system, the data, the operation. Currently, we have almost 500,000 data points that are streamed into Panorama. We're hoping to reach the 2 million marks in due time, 3 to 4 years, because that takes time. But another important function that Panorama has done, it's created a shift in thinking. Having the data in one place and people knowing that you don't need to go to the site, you don't need to go to anywhere, everything is available at your fingertip. Visualization is easy. We build dashboards at will. We use different softwares for that. So it's not just visualization. Visualization is the easiest part. It's actually utilizing the data and speeding up the decision-making process. So what Panorama has created for ADNOC is a platform where everybody collaborates, where everybody works together to find the global optimum and the best solution. It brings everybody on one floor that can work together. Also, another part of Panorama, and I don't want to take a lot of your time, is actually the digital factory, which is utilizing ideations, utilizing different things to actually develop a digital factory and develop our own applications. One of the applications we have developed that we are currently running is what we call the operator toolbox, which is a smartphone application for operators to really link to an RF detector whenever they walk around the plant. Whenever they reach an area, it pops on the screen and they can take reading or report incidents or take a picture and report certain things on it. It also adds their checklist. It helps them in their daily work. During this COVID, what speeded up us the most as well, we were focused on connected worker, virtual assistants, and monitoring using cameras to monitor HSC behaviors, to monitor PPE, to monitor different things. We started it by monitoring actually social distancing between people because of the COVID, but then it's now developing into a PPE monitoring and restricted area access and high risk zone isolation. So it's developing slowly as we are talking actually. The way we do our business and the way we do our digital transformation is we are very much a company that is integrated together. We have strong teams in different operating companies. We have the central team that's really a small team, but we work with automation, we work with the teams in the operating company, and that makes us able to scale up at a faster rate. All the cases that we've done, all the digital transformation initiative that we have implemented was not actually, it was originated from the companies. It originated through workshops by people, telling us their pain points and seeing how we can develop solution to speed up and help make life easier for them and optimize, of course, cost and all. Now, for one thing for sure, this could not be done without a strong IT infrastructure. IT and digital, we collaborate. IT is an enabler, not only to digital, it's an enabler for the whole organization. And during our COVID, our IT department really stepped up, and within no time, everybody had a laptop. Everybody was connected at home. Everybody was using the web. We all went on the cloud, and they did this in a record time. And that is actually how collaboration. I think one of the reasons we're doing this is because Panorama Command Center is there. Now, if you go and see the Panorama Command Center, it's very futuristic. It is very much has elements of Star Trek and different other sci-fi movies that we've seen. It's actually very nice to look at because it has a 360 view of Abu Dhabi, also of all the sites, 57 sites. That is what makes it, well, that's why we call it Panorama, because it has a 360 view. I hope that people have the opportunity to come visit us in Abu Dhabi and we can show them the place. This is pretty much what I would like to talk about. I would like to leave more room for discussion and more focused area.
Abdul Nasser, that is just incredible. It really is remarkable. If you can stop sharing your screen, we can go to questions, and the questions are pouring in. So everyone, if you have questions, go through the Q&A function through Zoom. Great. And I wanted to ask one question before we went to the audience. This is remarkable, but do you have a way of quantifying the value it's creating for ADNOC? In sort of pure dollars and cents, what is it doing for the company's value?
Okay. Trying to register or account for value from digital is a very difficult thing. We talk to Shell, we talk to Total, we talk to Exxon, we talk to all our partners and friends, and trying to understand how can you generate value? How do you measure that value from digital? Because part of what digital does is really speed up the decision-making process. It speed up things. Can you really put a value on that? But then we tried. And in the last year and a half, we were able to generate about $1 billion in value. So what we've been doing in this is, first, we have the baseline, which is the business plan. As I said, we have simulations in place where we optimize based on the whole value chain. And that generates more money, so that we log this as because of what we are doing. Also, in the predictive maintenance, we saved a lot because once we did the predictive maintenance, we moved away from preventive maintenance and time-based maintenance. That saved us money in the actual operating expenses. Mm-hmm. But it also saved us money in terms that now we can predict when the machine will fail and plan the repair before the failure happens. So in the last 2 years since we installed this, we have not had any catastrophic failure or any immediate failure of equipment. Most of the equipment that are monitors, we were able to predict if there was any failure to happen. That's another part. The other thing that we did was we had different scenarios where there's a lot of ideas, there's CapEx. So we went through the capital budgets and a lot of these initiatives that were there, CapEx, or optimization or added new facilities, we restudied that and we reevaluated those. And we were able to cancel about $600 million worth of CapEx out of the whole of that CapEx pool, which is in billions of dollars, of course.
Remarkable.
ADNOC CapEx is
absolutely
huge.
Remarkable. Okay, yeah. Let's get to some questions from the audience, and the questions keep on coming in. So from Hayden Lee in Singapore, how do you monitor sustainability, and what are the KPIs you use for sustainability?
Yeah. We are using, I am not the head of sustainability. We have a VP, Mrs. Summer. She's in charge of our sustainability. But we both report to the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, Alan Nelson. What we do is we are following the GRE, I think it's called, the EGI standard, which sustainability on social, economic, and production. These different matrix. So we have something like 460 matrix that we monitor. We're going to issue our first compliance or first report in August. The next report for next year is going to have the full matrix automated. And so now currently I am building this huge architecture to bring all these matrices into Panorama. Financial, legal, CSR, production, emissions, all of them. And the way we're doing it is unique in a way, because we really want to tell people that, look, we cannot share a lot of our information, but we want to make sure that our data is immutable. We want to make sure that our data is accurate. We want to make sure that our data is auditable. So we can bring people to audit us on sustainability and say, yes, what we are saying we are doing is accurate. And to do this, we decided to take our hydrocarbon molecule, which in the end, that's what we produce, hydrocarbon, take it from the wellhead, and even before that, during the drilling, all the way to the ship. And once we do that in blocks, and each block is a transaction or a transformation of that hydrocarbon molecule from one state to another. And as it moves from this state to another, that transaction is actually a process or a transaction. We're going to put this on blockchain. So then once that happens, a measurement is taken through a meter. And once that measurement is accurate and it's inputted in the system, it is inputted through blockchain. That means nobody can change it, nobody can alter it. And it's not up to the operator to decide, I'm not going to report this flaring that I did, or I'm not going to report this or that. Because one thing, as I said, ADNOC is building on a strong foundation of automation. Our flares, we have meters on our flares that we measure exactly. We don't produce from any field unless we are sure and we have a plan of how to utilize the gas, whether re-inject it or process it and use it. But flaring gas to produce oil, that is not in the culture of the UAE, and that's not been happening since 1980, in reality, where we have a federal law that stopped us from doing this. So no production without an outlet for the gas, and that we monitor.
That's really remarkable, and I know that with a number of policy mechanisms being considered across the world in the next couple of years, getting auditable data on your greenhouse gas emissions footprint, et cetera, is going to be one of the toughest challenges to managing any sort of border carbon adjustment or anything like that. And I hope people who are thinking about these policies come to ADNOC to learn how you've done it as a best practice. It's really remarkable. Okay, very good question from Dean Model. What was the most significant barrier to implementation of the Panorama Suite?
Well, the most significant barrier really was people. People not believing that this is possible. And actually, there was a lot of resistance because automating processes and doing things differently, this is an oil company that's been running for 50 years. So we have different cultures and we have 14 operating companies, bringing them together. So from a culture point of view, I had a lot of difficulty. From a technical point of view, it's actually integrating all these together. So we did an agile approach and we were able to integrate and bring all the data. As I said, we were lucky we have a very strong fiber optic network in the UAE. So we utilize that network. We have a strong telecom organization also. So we're utilizing our internal resources in this. So that was not the most difficult part. I think the speed or the demand by our leadership, Dr. Sultan, that he wants this done in 6 months. That was the most difficult thing to do. But he told us we have to do it in 6 months. We did it in 7. We couldn't do it in 6. We did it in 7 or 8. But he facilitated all the approvals and gave us the authority to do it and gave us the money. So doing it demanding, but we had the power to do it as well.
Interesting that the hardest part was the culture change. That the technology, getting the technology in, was not quite as hard as getting people to change. But perhaps a management lesson for all of us. You touched on a question that Kent Key wants to ask, and so we'll go into a little more detail. Are you doing real-time optimization at large scale, the refinery level, the company-wide, and what tools are you using to do that optimization?
No, real-time optimization, I'm only testing it in a couple of control rooms currently. So currently, we've done it in one control room, which monitors about 14 operating trains. So we did real-time optimization there, mainly based on a couple of parameters. The second step in that, and that's what we're currently working on, is linking another control room or another set of equipment into that RTO platform. The RTO platform now, it's a huge project in ADNOC. We're planning to link gas processing, sour gas, and the refineries all together on one RTO platform. So yes, this is one of the most exciting things I think we're doing, but it's still working. So we tested it in one place; it's working, and we're moving forward.
Remarkable. Okay, we have time for one final question, which we're going to take from Atik Savatham. When you do your what-if analysis and optimize your processes using simulations and other optimization techniques, do you also take into account predictive maintenance information and remaining useful life cycle of the equipment that you have? So you talked about predictive maintenance. You talked about what-if analysis. Do you combine the two when you're doing that what-if analysis?
Absolutely, we do combine that. And when we do the what-if analysis, we look at the turnaround plans. We look, because remember, we have a lot of facilities, so we have a very complex turnaround plans. We have turnaround plans that are linked to production losses and other turnaround that are modulars that have no production losses. We have plants that were built from 1980 all the way to 2015. So they have different recovery rate, different compositions, different parameters that we have to integrate together. I have a full team that does this on a monthly basis. So people are aware of the sales and operation planning process that a refinery usually runs on. And that's a standard way refineries run and petrochemical plants run. But when you incorporate this and you include gas, oil, and LNG, and other petrochemical, all within the same value chain, the value is just amazing. You can really generate a lot of that.
Well, Abdul Nasser, this was really remarkable. Not quite the same thing as being there, but the next best thing while we're still all working remotely. I know that ADNOC is going to start to go back to the office at a small scale next week. So I hope that goes well. And I hope that I get to come back to Abu Dhabi sometime soon and we can catch up. I want to thank everyone on the line for tuning in. Very much appreciate that. And thank you, Abdul Nasser, again for the remarkable presentation. Everyone, be sure to connect with Abdul Nasser on LinkedIn. This presentation will be available on the Atlantic Council website, YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So please feel free to share it with your colleagues. Thank you to all who put this program together, including Olga Kokova, Katie Wimsat, Roger Morales, Jasper Gilardi, and Tom Knoll. I hope you all will join us on June 19th at 10 a.m. for the next edition of Innovation Stream with Chaz Romer from G2 Net Zero LNG, who will discuss the world's first net zero LNG export and industrial gas production complex. We have two other upcoming events that you might be interested in. Tomorrow, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're hosting a virtual fireside chat with Mele Kyari, Group Managing Director of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation. And then on Monday, June 15th at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're hosting a virtual fireside chat with His Excellency Suhail Al-Mazroui, Minister of Energy and Industry of United Arab Emirates. You can find out details for both of these events on the Atlantic Council website. Until next time, everyone, thank you so again for joining us. Thank you, Abdul Nasser. Please, everyone, stay safe and wear a mask when you see other people.
Thank you.